right, well there's the main unit. Hey, this is Rich from HouseBarons.com. My brother Dave and I renovate houses along with Dave's son Caleb. And today we have a very cool project. And it is going to be involving setting up this DIY MrCool mini split. So we're working at our farm today, and this building was made for my son James, and he does ceramics. And so he purchased these two kilns, and this one's a test kiln, it's small. And then once you're happy with what you're doing, then you put everything in the big kiln and you mass produce it. So his request was that we build a space for him that he can do all of his ceramics work. And so in order to do that, it needs to be heated and cooled. And so we're gonna take this unit and we're gonna mount it actually back here in the corner. And then he'll be able to control the temperature of this room perfectly year round. This room over here is where the actual work will be done, where the kilns will be. We poured this 5x5 concrete slab, and we've got cement board here, and we're hoping James doesn't burn us down. So what a mini split is kind of like when you go to a real nice hotel room and they've got a little unit there. It will heat the room, it'll cool the room. But what's astonishing about the DIY MrCool, we actually installed one in a lake house that we recently renovated, and it is whisper quiet. Like, I've never encountered a heating cooling unit like this. You almost can't even tell that it's running. And so I would say that is, besides the fact that it heats and cools the room well, that is just an astonishing feature, that it's just not loud. You can see we got the 12K model, and they make all kinds of different size units. So it just depends on what the size of the space is that you're trying to heat and cool to determine which DIY MrCool you need. We made another video where we did a review on the DIY MrCool, and it tells you all the pros and cons about this unit. And if you want to check that out, there's a link to that video right there. So the DIY MrCool it will arrive in two different boxes. So one is the exterior unit, and the other one will be the interior unit that will be mounted on your wall. Let's check it out and see what's in here. All right, well there's the main unit. It's very slick, nice looking. MrCool. All right, here is all the rest of it. It comes with, this is a template right here, so you can figure out how to hang it on your wall. So this is the exterior unit. It's got a big long cord that attaches to it, which is right there. And then this is the interior unit, and it's got a really nice sleek look to it, kind of futuristic. One word of caution, so when you get into this unit, you're going to want to just start unboxing everything and getting everything out. But this is connected right here, and you don't want to crimp that or bend it, because if you do, you could damage it. So just be careful with it. The instruction booklet is kind of buried in here.
Alright, so in order to get the mounting plate off of your DIY MrCool indoor unit, you have to remove a little screw. It's just one central screw in the back of this bracket, and then once you do that, you should be able to pop this off and now attach it to the wall.
Alright, to figure out where to mount this, so they've got some requirements here. The minimum ceiling clearance is 5.9 inches, 4.75 inches from the wall on either side. If the ceiling is greater than 9 feet, the floor clearance has to be 90.5 inches. For a ceiling that's less than 9 feet, the floor clearance needs to be 78.5 inches. They give you this really handy template, and well, you need to know where your studs are so that you can make sure that the holes line up with your studs, so it'll be nice and secure. All right, so the unit needs to be level, so just grab your level and put it over your template. All right, so this next step is to drill a hole. This here is a hole saw, and this is what you need. What's critical is to make sure there's no wiring, plumbing, or anything else that you might accidentally cut into. We're in a pole barn, and so Caleb drilled through this layer. It's cut through the insulation, and now at the other side of this is steel from our pole barn, our siding. So we need to get through that layer as well. So now we have goats running amok in our barn. All right, so this is the outside of our barn with its steel siding. All right, you got your point. Caleb cleverly marked everything, and so now we'll use our multi-tool to cut between each of those markings, and it should make a pretty good hole. And it doesn't have to be perfect because, as Caleb mentioned, we've got a baffle to put on there, so it'll hide any imperfections. All right, so we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, so here's this little plastic sleeve that goes in here, and that fit in perfectly. And then outside, there's this little baffle that goes around it, makes it look nice. So this hole here is going to fit the refrigerant piping, drainage pipe, and the signal cable. When you're drilling these holes, the inside hole should be higher than the outside hole, and that will allow drainage. So you can see that it's elevated in here and it goes lower out there.
We're going to hang the bracket that we already pre-drilled holes for with our template. Ta-da!
Is that nice and secure now?
Nice and secure, you can hang on this.
Yay.
The refrigerant is already in this pipe, which is attached to your indoor mounted unit. So you have to be very careful for these next few steps when dealing with this piping, because if you dent it or crack it, it could cause poor performance or potentially even make it not work. So ideally what we're gonna have to do is slowly try and unroll this as best as we can and get it as like stress-free as possible, and then we will feed the end of it through the wall very slowly, and until we get to the place where we can begin trying to mount the indoor unit. Alright, so once we get our refrigerant pipe out to the outside of your building, now you're going to want to connect it to your outdoor unit. Typically all you're going to need is going to be a couple of wrenches. Right over here is where your connection is going to be. It just has this little covering right here, and you're just going to unscrew it, take that off. And you can see you've got both of your refrigerant lines, and here is your tube. This is your electrical connection. Basically, you want to kind of make sure that these caps stay on, because a lot of dirt and stuff can get in there until the very last second. All right, and try very carefully not to kink the lines, and set it up in just the right way so they'll both fit on pretty easily. Now we will start by removing these caps, and then just kind of line it up as best you can, and make sure you don't cross thread it, because that can cause a couple of leaks. You just want to get a couple of turns on, make sure it's spinning smoothly, and then same for the other. All right, so now you're gonna want to set up your wrenches. One is going to hold on to this bottom connector, and the other one is going to slowly tighten, or I guess quickly tighten this. Essentially what it will do is release all of your coolant or freon or whatever into this pipe, and then you will turn this valve to release it into the air conditioning unit. All right, now that you have both of your lines connected, what you're gonna wanna do is turn these release valves. Oh, and as you can see, we're gonna need a special tool that they've included in the set to actually turn these valves. It should look like a little Allen key, like this. That way, there we go. All right, and then just go ahead, put the caps back on. All right, now all your lines are connected. Your next step will be to take the little electrical connection and plug it in. That's just under here. We'll do that really quick, and then we'll have to wait for an electrician to come and hook this up to our breaker panel. All right, so as we're removing this panel that covers up all of your electrical wiring, you can see that there are a couple holes right here that you could feed this through. That way it just kind of mitigates the water that can come in and keeps all the dirt and garbage out of it. All right, so looking at the panel, you can see that there are two little plugs, essentially. One is gonna be for the main wire that the electrician is gonna run to this unit, and the other we can use for this little connector. We'll just fit the big plastic bit through first, and then we'll go with the ground wire. And we'll feed it through, and we can just let that hang for now. Then basically it's pretty self-explanatory. You just clip that in, and now you're gonna want to ground this ground wire to one of these green screws over here. We'll do that real quick. All right, now that that's all hooked up, we can go ahead and put this on for now and wait for the electrician to come and finish the rest of the process.
All right, so check it out. Caleb finished installing the DIY MrCool, and here's the outdoor unit. You see it's coming from the ceramics room out here, and it's all wired in there. And he built this really nice platform for it to rest on. And it's all hooked up, and look, it's freezing outside today, but DIY MrCool sit on 68 degrees. And so it is quite comfortable in this room. We're gonna make another video where we show you how we installed a DIY MrCool in a residence as opposed to this barn. So when that's available, we'll put a link to that right there. All right, well, that's how you install a DIY MrCool unit yourself. If you got anything out of the video, please hit the thumbs up. That helps out our channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because we have a ton of home improvement videos on the way. Thank you very much for viewing, and we'll see you in this video.